Now, for its context, these are the offerings that the people are to make. And to whom did God command they make offerings? Do you know?
To him?
To Him. I know, it seems a basic statement, but it still needs to be made. These were the offerings that they were to make to God. And this word is wine. It's absolutely positively fermented wine. And to whom are they offering the wine?
To God.
To God. To God.
In all these instances, though, isn't it like it's a meal? It's the bread and the wine, and
Yes.
this was their meal. It wasn't to have the bread and then get drunk on the wine.
Yes.
It's the meal. That
Yeah.
was their drink. It was lasting. It was something that kept.
Yep. Absolutely.
And sometimes I don't think the water was probably all that good.
Absolutely not, especially if you're traveling through the desert.
Okay.
And then Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 13. And just as a note, the word nomos or nami in Latin means the law. Deutero means the second. So Deuteronomy means the second law because the Ten Commandments show up again in the book of Deuteronomy. It's the second giving of the law in Deuteronomy. So that's why it's called Deuteronomy, the second law. But let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 13.
He will love you, bless you, and multiply you. He will also bless the fruit of your womb and the fruit of your ground, your grain and your wine and your oil, the increase of your herds and the young of your flock in the land that he swore to your fathers to give you.
Yeah, and there God is telling them how much He's going to bless them. And here, the word is for the juice of the grape, not necessarily fermented. By extension, we usually take it to mean both that which is fresh and that which is fermented. Because what is it talking about? When it's talking about wine, it's talking about it in connection with grain. So this is that which is produced from the ground, both your grain and your fruit. And this is going to come up, you're going to have it, it will be in abundance so that you'll not only have it fresh, but you'll have it in stores. Fresh grape juice, stores, wine. So that's why the translators choose to take it as wine instead of putting grape juice. Because the intention here when they use the phrase is for the harvest. It's the harvest of the grapes and the use of the grapes.
Is this set up before they go into the promised land?
Yes.
Because, I mean, they're roaming around out there in the desert. They probably haven't had a decent drink of wine for 40 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is why, I mean, again, they don't get into the promised land until the book of Joshua. So staying in Deuteronomy, before they get into the promised land, go to Deuteronomy chapter 14. Deuteronomy 14. And for context here, let's read verses 22 to 27 of Deuteronomy 14. Verse 22 to 27 of Deuteronomy 14.
You shall keep all the yield of your seed that comes from the field year by year, and before the Lord your God, in the place that he will choose to make his name dwell there, you shall eat the teeth of your grain, of your wine, and of your oil, and the firstborn of your herd and flock, that you may learn to fear the Lord your God always. And if the way is too long for you, so that you are not able to carry the teeth, when the Lord your God blesses you, because the place is too far from you, which the Lord your God chooses to set his name there, then you shall turn into money turn it into money and bind up the money in your hand and go to the place that the Lord your God chooses and spend the money for whatever you desire, oxen or sheep or wine or strong drink, whatever your appetite craves. And you shall eat there before the Lord your God and rejoice, you and your household. And you shall not neglect the Levite who is within your towns, for he has no portion or inheritance with you.
Yeah. And see, this is the section on the tithe. You know, occasionally we talk about tithing. We talk about it as 10%. It was the requirement. But here's the question. What were you supposed to do with the tithe?
Eat it.
Eat it! And drink it. And this word is absolutely fermented wine. Note also, what was one of the things that God allows and even almost encourages by including it in this section? Not only wine, but strong drink. And here we're definitely talking about what you can do with corn. Okay, because they had maize-like things. What do you do with corn? Yep. They had some good grain alcohol. And this was strong drink. So, just looking at it, does God say all liquor is bad?
No.
No. In fact, God even says once a year, take the stuff you have and divide it up so that the church gets some of the tenth, but also that you eat all of it. And as you read through this section on the tithe, you're required to have all of it gone. You can't stockpile any of it. Because the thing is, you're giving it to God. You're eating it in praise and thanksgiving of what God has given you, rather than stockpiling it for a rainy day.
You wouldn't want too much of that hard stuff left over then, would you?
Exactly. And so what were you supposed to do with the bottle of moonshine that you bought? Drink it and share it. And did you notice verse 27, whom are you supposed to share it with? The Levites. Now, what's interesting is that God specifically said, if you're going to go on duty in the temple, no wine. No wine for you if you're going on duty at the temple. When you get home, okay, fine. But not while you're going on duty. So that you don't dishonor the holy house. Aaron's sons did this. They got wasted even while they were on duty at the temple. And they were the chief priests. And so do you guys remember what happened to Aaron's sons? They were killed. Struck down by God. Good note not to drink on the job. But that's the thing.
It just snuck up on him.
Oh, yeah. So when you see, yes, there is a difference in the two words. Yes, there was, in the Old Testament, a way to use grape juice. But is that all they used? No. And even then, the reason we translate the word for grape juice as wine in the text is because it talks about both the grape juice and the fermented wine.
Makes it just a little bit confusing.
It can.
You know, for the layman, it's really...
In our study Bible, it said new wine in place of grape.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when it was the newer grape juice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
wine
exactly.
in other places, but,
Exactly.
which is a little helpful. But.
So, where do the other churches that give grape juice instead of wine at communion get that idea? How do they tell their people, no wine, grape juice is okay though?
It comes from, traditionally, it comes from a standard which is read into the text. Because go to Matthew 26, verse 26.